Welcome everyone to another session with our Inspiring STEM. Where can STEM take you? Hi, my name's Ben Newsom from Fizzics Education, and I'm really excited to present this session. Really not just myself, but lots of people are involved with this session. This has been put together with Inspiring the Future Australia, which is this fantastic place that looks after getting students to understand careers, what's out there, and what's personally and practically available for people as they go along. And this has been really proudly supported by Amazon Web Services. And look, we do have a very packed session for 45 minutes where we get to meet 5 really interesting and diverse speakers about how did they get into maths, not so much as maths directly, but how do they apply maths in their different fields. And there are a number of people, so very soon you will get to meet Hazel Gray. She is the MCM MCM Program Manager for Amazon Web Services. You will also get to meet Ranui Rice, who is a Data Center Technician for Amazon Web Services. You'll get to meet Dr. Alexandra Thomson, who's a Deep Green Biotech Hub Manager. You get to find out what that is very, very soon. And Lecturer and Subject Coordinator for the Climate Change Cluster from the University of Technology of Sydney. You'll get to meet Nathan Manuel, my lips are going. Nathan Manuel, who's a performance analyst for our South Australian National Football League. And we'll also have Bec Fisher as well, who is an electrician, and by the way, a NAWIC tradesperson of the year, which is really cool, and you get to hear about how mathematics is going on there. So you get to see lots of different perspectives in mathematics, and also just STEM in general, and how they got to their positions, and why how you can really emulate what they've done. So very busy session. So I might just kick it off straight away. So Hazel, I will mute myself, and I'd love to hear about what you do, and where could we get to your place one day? That'd be awesome. Thank you.
Hi, thank you. So I started my career when I was 19 years old. I come from a poor family, a commission housing family in London. My mum was a single parent. At the age of 19, I'd done quite well at school. I took on a 4-year apprenticeship with a company called Thames Water, which is the equivalent of Sydney Water. What I did through the first 4 years is I worked on clean water and waste treatment sites, and I learned how to become an instrumentation and a qualified electrician on these sites. So I was 4 days a week working at work, and then 1 day a week I was going to college and studying how to be an electrician, how to do instrumentation, how to do engineering, so using lathes, and using milling machines and sort of metal work as well. So after the 4-year apprenticeship, I passed within 3.5 years, which was unheard of, but I'd finished all my books, I'd finished all my studies, and I became a qualified instrumentation technician. What this involved was me working out on waste treatment water sites, taking samples, setting up differential pressure meters, programming PLCs, and fixing things when they broke, and carrying out planned maintenance as well. After 2 years of working there, I actually wanted to go more into the electrical side. So I worked alongside an electrical team and became the low voltage engineering manager. So at quite a young age, I was already managing a team of 2 supervisors, 9 electricians and 4 mates. We went round all of the Thames Water sites, and we were looking at were their electrical installations up to standard and managing that. Working alongside quite a large team of guys who are absolutely fantastic. It allowed me to learn my management skills as well as work within my engineering role. Whilst I was doing this, being an LV manager and being an instrumentation technician, I was actually wanted to continue my studies. So I did a BEng honours in computer system and networking. This allowed me to become a proper engineer, I guess some people would say, and I went to university 1 day a week, so that day was a really, really long day for 4 years. So I would start at 8 o'clock in the morning at university and finish at 9 o'clock at night. And then the rest of the week, the 4 days, I would carry on doing what was a full-time job and running the LV team and carrying out works as needed. After I did that, I wanted to change careers. I liked being a manager, but I wanted to work more in computer systems. So I went off and became a business analyst, and that involved actually writing reports, working with SQL databases, going out and actually finding the business user requirements and understanding what they actually want to see and how they want to measure their maintenance performance. Taking all those requirements and actually physically building the reports, building the screens for them to see them so that they weren't flat. This is the days before Tableau and that were invented. So we were working within Access with SQL backends and actually working, doing proper programming and getting them so they were displayed. So working as a business analyst was a great opportunity, and this led to lots of opportunities. So within Thames Water previously, I had worked within maintenance. I'd run maintenance programs. So when a transformation program came up, I took that with both hands and jumped forward. What that actually meant is I could look across the entire business and try and standardize our operating procedures and understand how we could operate better and how we could basically do more work with the same number of resources, so we didn't have to have as many contractors in our place. Setting up planning offices across London, Reading and Swindon, so that's quite a large area, so that's probably like the whole of Sydney. I became the planning manager across the 3 offices. That meant that I was actually responsible for the delivery of maintenance for clean wastewater and networking across London, running 3 teams of planners, schedulers and administration within those teams. It was a very, very busy role, 24 hours, and working across clean water, wastewater and networking was a lot of responsibility. When the director from Thames Water actually moved over to Australia, he was headhunted. He actually sent me an email and asked me if I wanted to come with him because they were looking to set up planning offices over here as well. I went off to work, so I moved all the way from London to Australia, having never been to Australia before in my life. I worked for a company called Broad Spectrum, and I set up planning offices across their 120 contracts, which was a great opportunity for me. I concentrated initially within the water industry because that's what I'd worked in previously, but it led me to go on to work within defence, roads and facilities management. What that actually meant was I was travelling around Australia. I've been to every defence base within Australia as I've rolled out planning software and standard operating procedures and how people should operate in a standard way and get the measurements and the metrics that you need for a business to run efficiently. Working across there, I also started doing some consultancy. So what that actually meant was when contracts were failing or their maintenance wasn't up to scratch or they didn't have maintenance plans set up properly or they were struggling with their clients, I would go in and work with those contracts, sometimes taking over the FM role, sometimes the maintenance manager, or alternatively, I would be working with the planning department, making sure that we were meeting our obligations to the client. After that, I actually decided to take a slight career change and I moved over to a consultancy role within ABB. What I actually started concentrating on was looking at their asset management software, and I started selling ABB's asset management software as a pre-sales consultant. And what that meant was setting up demonstrations, going into contracts like Origin Energy, Western Power, and actually looking at how they were operating and offering some advice on how we could use our software to sell and actually allow them to actually have better operating processes. After that, I joined AWS. So 18 months ago, I joined AWS within the Enterprise Asset Management team. What that entailed is me traveling across Asia, actually working in within the Asia Pacific region, going in, looking at their assets, understanding what assets they have, what their maintenance plan is, and setting that all up in the system for them. Currently, I work as a global data center change management Manager. And what that actually entails is understanding the risk within our data centers and setting up processes and procedures to enable the company to operate efficiently and without risk for our customers. This has been quite a varied career. I've travelled across the entirety of Australia and New Zealand. I have worked all across Asia, coming from London to Australia. So I'm a great believer in within engineering, there are great opportunities, and where you start is not where you end up. It allows you to move across industries. It allows you to move across countries. And I found it a really, really exciting opportunity. Thank you.
Oh, fantastic. Thank you very much, Hazel, for that. I mean, it's very hard to summarize a career like that in 5 minutes. Now, by the way, look down the bottom, everyone who's listening on in. There is a function called Q&A. So whilst I ask Hazel just a quick question that I'd love to know, if you'd like to ask Hazel or any one of our panelists a question throughout this session, feel free to click on that and press it, and make sure you direct who that question is for. So in this case, I'm going to say, Hazel, this is my question for you just for now. Just wondering, it's a simple question. When you started out as an electrician, did you believe that, did you think you'd end up working with software for a start?
No, I actually didn't. I wanted to do a hands-on career. I wanted to be able to do something that was really practical. I wanted to solve problems. It just meant that through my degree, I ended up working within software. So.
All right, and so when you say within software, I mean, this is also partly a mathematics program. So what sort of maths did you have to deal with? I mean, or is it sort of like you're just playing within software that's already been built, or were you building the software?
I can actually program. Working as a business analyst, I would be analysing, so using SQL, using programs like that. I've also used Visual Basic, Java, HTML within my role. Actually configuring software that's already written as well is quite a skill as well.
No worries. Now, we do have to make sure we pass through to all our different panelists, but one quick question whilst we're waiting for people to type in their questions is, if you had some advice for some students, and funnily enough, we've got students listening to you right now, what would be your advice for getting into maths and STEM in general?
I would say study hard, get the grades. Even if you think that you haven't got enough or good enough grades to go and do a degree, get into engineering or get into a career that allows you to learn while you're earning, basically.
No worries. Now, Jackie, I believe we've had a question come up from one of the students.
Yes, so this one is for Hazel, and Nick just wanted to know, what did you study at high school?
Oh, so the curriculum within the UK is slightly different. So I did technology, I did mathematics, and I did sciences.
Fantastic. Now, we will come up to another question for Hazel towards the end, but we do have quite a few people to get through. So thanks so much, Hazel, for your time. Please hang around for us a few more questions. Hey, Ranui Rice, who's also with Amazon Web Services, what do you get up to, and how does STEM involve with your life?
Hey everybody, my name is Ra, and I work at AWS as a data center technician. My role involves building and maintaining the computers and network systems that make up a data center. And everybody knows the data center as the cloud. So we provide services such as, or rather the systems that provide the services such as Netflix, Amazon.com, and Twitch and other services. So yeah, that's our job. Oh, that's my job. I have a small video that I'll share to the screen to show you what that looks like, or what a data center looks like, because a lot of people don't really know. So I'll just share this to screen right now. See if we can do that. Can we all see this?
Yes, it's coming through. Just got to double click on it, and I believe it will open up a new window that you'll need to click on to share. Jackie might be able to help you out.
Yeah, so with screen sharing, you might need to quit out of the screen share. Once you start the video playing, then you can select the video player. And remember to click share computer sound if
Yeah.
there is sound to be shared.
There is not, but it's not coming up. So I'll skip that. That's okay. Anyway, so a data center, it kind of looks like a big giant Woolworths with a lot of aisles. And in every single aisle, there's racks and racks and racks of servers. And servers are basically computers that are meant for industrial applications, and they're sort of horizontal rather than standing upright like you would see at home. And they're stacked all the way up, and everything's connected by a network, and this whole data center is connected to the internet. And this data center stores all of the data that services use all the time to share their websites and services to all of us. So my journey to become a data center technician isn't the typical journey. I didn't start in tech, and well, a bit like Hazel, I actually started in defense. Well, I work in defense. So once I left high school, I wasn't sure what I wanted to do. And I was in a weird position because of family issues. I had moved out of home when I was 16, so I finished year 12 while I was living by myself. I then joined the army and spent 4 years in the army as a rifleman. After that time in the army, I moved to California and lived there for 2 years and studied fashion actually and design. And I kind of wasn't sure exactly what I wanted to do, but I had an eye for design, and so I moved towards that direction. I moved back to Australia and I floated around for a while, and because of personal issues and some, ex-military stuff, I went through a period of depression and sort of wandering around trying to figure out what I wanted to do, because it's not that easy. And I worked a bunch of retail jobs. I studied a wide range of subjects. I went to university for less than a semester and studied ancient Greek, ancient Latin, philosophy. At home, I studied some DJing and some music production. I worked in a small business for a short time and did some business administration. I did some bookkeeping. And then I went back to a school of design and studied graphic design. And on the side, I did some web design. So in the end, I didn't really complete many courses for certifications, but I sort of dipped my toes in everything and had a bit of a taste of everything. I just wasn't sure what I wanted to do, but I started to realize that I'm moving towards something design oriented and something to do with computers, because when I was in design school, I feel like I was really enjoying web design. So I actually ended up going through a recruiting company that are available out in the world. If you leave school, university is not the only option. These recruiting companies look at what your skills you have and help you to find jobs where there are positions available. And because of my background in design and computer skills, they said, hey, why don't you study the cybersecurity course? And I said, oh, that sounds really interesting. So I went ahead, did some cybersecurity study, and out of nowhere, the company comes to me and says, look, AWS is giving away some trainee positions for a data center technician. Would you be interested? And I said, yeah, that'd be great. I just wanted to get into a technical role. And I was a bit afraid to sort of jump into this world that I wasn't used to in the tech industry. So I said yes. And I turned up, I studied some Linux, which was my sort of self-study to get through this interview. And I went for an interview for the traineeship course at AWS, and I went well. I didn't have a lot of computer skills to show them. Like, I haven't put together a computer. I didn't do a lot of programming. I had done a little bit of web design, so front-end design. But what they were looking for, and what the industry is always looking for, is things like leadership skills, like problem-solving ability, the ability to think logically and to troubleshoot and to find root causes. So I had that ability, and they said, well, yeah, you have that ability. This is a traineeship, so we can teach you the tech. Welcome aboard. And so here I am, and I've been working for AWS ever since. And I see Hazel around the place, so that's pretty cool. And yeah, so that was my journey. As far as maths and as far as how that's played into my career growth, I wouldn't say it's exactly, when you do maths at school, you feel like it's not relevant. That was the hardest thing for me, to enjoy maths. You feel like, oh, when am I ever going to use this? But you do. And it's not so much the exact questions you get in the textbook that you go and see in the real world. what you use in the tech role, especially my role, is the logical thinking. It's like the kind of thinking you need to solve maths problems, and the time that it takes to concentrate on a specific problem. That kind of ability that you learn doing maths, you can apply to anything. So that's really helped me get through in the tech world and got me into the industry.
So one of the things that I liked about what you did was create a quick poll for everyone to sort of get involved with. So Jackie, it's right if you could launch the poll and see what people think. Oh, sorry, mate, you're muted.
We really wanted to ask everyone, which qualifications does he have? Is it a Diploma of Graphic Design? Is it Bachelor of Information Technology? Is it Bachelor of Outdoor Recreation? Or was it an MTV Movie Award for Best Hero? You can click on whichever option you like and hit submit, and we will be able to see what people voted for. I understand that some of our participants today are coming in as a whole class, so probably takes a bit of time to tally up all those votes to put it in. All right, okay. I'm glad to see most people are listening out there. I feel like they are selecting the correct answer, and I can see a few people just want to troll, but that's okay.
Yeah, I thought you were going to get at least one vote on MTV Movie Award, by the way.
Come on, I look like a hero, right? No.
Absolutely. All right, we're going to end the poll and have a look at our results. All right, so Ra, you can see the results on screen. What do you think?
Yes, 67% of you are correct. I do have a diploma in graphic design, and I just wanted to show you all that in the tech industry, the university degrees aren't everything. What they do count for is the fact that you focused on this and you've come out with this degree, and so you should have the skills, but you can gather the skills in other ways, and that's what I did. My pathway wasn't exactly straight. I did a lot of self-study and other study, but what they're looking for is the ability to do the job. And if you have those abilities and you can prove yourself in an interview, it's not the end of the world if you don't have a degree.
Absolutely. And actually, you know what? There's a question that's come up in the chat, which sort of does go to this. Jackie, would you want to speak to that, if you could, please?
Yeah, so I think all of us panelists can have a think about this. Nick had asked also, what subjects that you studied at high school did you find the most helpful for your job?
I would say there's two, actually. So one is interesting because it wasn't a STEM subject, but the other is definitely a STEM subject. So one was maths. Maths was definitely the most helpful because of the way it made you think. It makes you think in a logical way. And if you're going to be in programming, if you're going to do anything that requires repetitive steps or processes, you need to understand how if you do A, or if you do something, this thing will result. And then from there, you do something else. So that's like a logical step. That really helped me in my current role. As far as the other subject goes, actually, I would say, I'd say English helps a bit too, because as much as we deal with computers in the IT world, there's a lot of correspondence, and you're speaking to people all the time. And so I wouldn't say exactly English is the subject, but your ability to speak to people is very useful. So you need the technical skills and you need the logical thinking to be able to do the role and to even have the job. But if you can also communicate that to other people within the role, then you'll be much more valuable.
Awesome. Look, thank you very much, Ra, for sharing. It very much an interesting journey. I did like the idea of you were involved with design and still with design. Let's be honest, when it comes to being a data center technician, you got to design what's going on. Love it. Hey, Dr. Alex Thomson, you're heavily involved in lots of things and an actual bona fide superstar of STEM, which I suspect you might actually tell us about. But Alex, can you tell us a bit about what you get up to, please?
Yeah, sure. So I manage something called the Deep Green Biotech Hub. What that is it sits within the University of Technology, Sydney, and I work really closely with a research institute that's focused on climate change. And what we do is we help businesses and people that want to create new businesses basically create solutions that are climate friendly and more sustainable. So I'll talk to you a little bit about how I got there. Much like the previous two panelists, I had a bit of a twisty-turny sort of career path to get to where I am. I grew up in regional New South Wales, and when I was in high school, I really liked science, but I didn't really know what science careers were out there aside from something in medicine. So when I was in year 12 or year 11, I started off doing biology and chemistry. I did extension maths and I did extension English. And then just for some fun, I did hospitality as well. I finished high school and I didn't do as well as I wanted to do, but I got into uni and I was really happy to get into uni, and I started off doing medical science. And I started doing medical science, and I saw these people around me and they were really enjoying it and they were doing really, really well. And I could see that they were really passionate about working in the medical field, whether that's being a doctor or a physio or a pharmacist. And I hated it. But I could see that people around me were really loving it. And so I was kind of thinking to myself, there's something that's wrong here. I like the science side of it, but I'm really not enjoying the exact thing that I'm working on. And it took me doing a really random course in my third year of my degree where I stumbled across this researcher who'd been working in South America conserving this species of like crocodiles against climate change, and was completely inspired and just completely blew my mind. And at this time, there was all this kind of stuff coming out about, climate change is going to be one of the biggest things that we face in our lifetimes. And, I sort of thought, man, I love science and I really like solving problems. I kind of think that I want to start working in this space. So I changed my degree. I moved interstate and I started at a different university, and I completed an undergrad in environmental science. I then went on and just kept researching and found myself snorkeling in Melbourne in freezing cold 9-degree water, looking around in Scandinavia and digging up worms, snorkeling around in China. And all of a sudden I was doing a PhD and looking at how our estuaries and our coastal systems can help to sort of mitigate the effects of climate change. And I thought, man, this is where it's at. I feel like I'm kind of solving some problems here. I could do this for the rest of my life. And so I finished my PhD with all the hopes in the world that I could make a difference and sort of change the world. And then I kind of looked at my career path and looked at the people that were around me and the types of things they were doing. And I am a really impatient person, and I realized this isn't moving fast enough for me. And I realized that to get the results that I was after, I was basically going to have to deliver the research that was out there to businesses that could make a difference. And so what I did is I got this role, which is at the Deep Green Biotech Hub. And that's essentially what I do is I help deliver some of the research that exists within the university and give it to businesses and startups that are able to make a difference. So what that means is that we specifically work with algae. So we grow algae in our university in the middle of the city, and which is able to suck up carbon dioxide, and then we're able to make a whole bunch of different products out of it. So I do that, and then I also lecture to undergraduate students. So that was something else that I became really, really passionate about, was how else can I make a difference? How else can I get things moving faster? It's educating the next kind of round of future scientists. And the more future scientists that I can educate, the better. So I have been teaching undergraduate science for the past 5 years. When I first started teaching, a lot of people didn't realize that I was their lecturer and told me to get out of the classroom because they thought I was a student. But I have now been able to teach over 4,000 students in the past 5 years, which has been really, really amazing. And a lot of them have gone on to do PhDs and have amazing jobs. And I kind of feel like I'm able to create some impact in that space through teaching students. The things that we've worked on in the Deep Green Biotech Hub in the past 2 years, we started an accelerator program. So we get businesses in really, really fast. They develop new products. They've made everything from dye to make fabric. So clean dye that's carbon neutral, that's able to dye fabric. We're able to design things that capture carbon and then kind of make a product on the other end, and all sorts of new foods as well. So it's a really exciting space. And it's something I'm really passionate about because we actually get to help make a difference in a space that is, for a lot of people, a really kind of big deal.
Absolutely. And I love the fact that you talk impact. I mean, you have 4,000 students, but honestly, they're going to interact with people too. So it becomes this massive pyramid. For sure. Now, one of the things, I mean, by the way, everyone listening in, remember that you do have the Q&A function down the bottom. Feel free to definitely ask lots of questions. But one question I've got for you, Alex, is, okay, researchers. I mean, how much maths is there really to do?
So there's a lot.
Yes.
Yeah, when I did high school, I did extension maths and I struggled through it. It was a really tough subject for me. I really struggled with maths, but I really liked maths. So it was kind of this funny position. It was the same with chemistry. I really struggled with chemistry, and somehow I've ended up being a biogeochemist. So it's that kind of funny thing that it does take a while, and sometimes having an application that you're actually applying that skill is the thing that makes the biggest difference. So I use maths all the time when we're kind of talking to industry partners and we say, hey, if you install this big thing that's going to grow some algae on your roof, you're able to suck up this many tons of carbon per year, so it's going to make this much impact on your business. We do things, when I was doing a lot of research, we'd go out into these like Danish fjords and have to set up these chambers and then work out how much carbon dioxide was coming out of them, which you think is just a kind of probe that you stick in the mud and you can get a number, but actually you've got to do a whole bunch of calculations to get to that point. So on the research end of things, we use maths all the time. Half my lectures that I give to my undergraduate students is actually a lot of maths, because we're working out, if you go to a forest and there's this many kangaroos and you know that they're breeding at this rate, how many can you expect in the next year? But then on the other side of things with industry, we're constantly calculating things to show that the thing that they're doing and the product that they're making is going to be impactful.
Awesome. And actually, we've had a question coming up there. Jackie, what is it?
So once again, this is a question that I think all our speakers can have a think about. Ryan asks, did you know what you wanted to do when you were in high school?
Absolutely not. I had no idea. I kind of knew that it was somewhere in the science space, but I was also really interested in history. I was really interested in art. I kind of thought that I could do something in business. So I really had no idea, and it wasn't until I kind of started at uni and got myself out there and started sort of experiencing the sort of things that I could do that kind of started solidifying what my career path could be. And in fact, you know, that when I was in high school, they were telling us, you know, the jobs that you'll have in the future don't even exist today. And I kind of thought that was, oh yeah, whatever. But actually, it's completely true. Like, my job didn't even exist 5 years ago, and now I'm in it.
Absolutely. And can I just say, by the end of this year, we're going to hear a lot more about new occupations we've never heard of before. Absolutely. Hey, look, Alex, definitely thank you very much for joining us, and definitely hang around in case people have got some more questions. But we've got 2 more panelists to go through. It's a very rapid fire today. So Nathan Manuel, you've got a very interesting job, and I feel like your head is filled with facts and figures. Nathan, tell me what you get up to.
Yeah, I'm Nathan. I'm 21. I have just completed my Bachelor of Exercise and Sports Science degree, and I'm currently working in the Glenelg Footy Club as a performance analyst. So basically, in Year 12, I studied maths and biology, and sort of leaving Year 12, I thought, yeah, I want to be a physio, I want to be an OT, something in that field, just something really hands-on, and hopefully something I can make a difference in. But due to my scores that I got, it wasn't something that I was able to get into, so I went into the Bachelor of Exercise and Sports Science field, and it's probably been the best thing I could have done. I got offered to move to Geelong to do occupational therapy, but I decided to stick it out, finish my degree that I was in, and it has led to some amazing opportunities that I've had so far. To start with, I'll talk about the opportunities that I've had. So in my final year of my degree, I actually had the opportunity to be with the Adelaide Football Club. I took on a placement role there, working with the coaches and the analysts, basically being an analyst for the team. I would look at, on game day, look at the stats, what's happening during the game, see where what's going well, what's going wrong, where can we get the advantage of the opposition. And then during the week, we would look back at the game that had happened and see what went wrong or and well there, and then also look at the opposition strategies and see what they did and see what worked for them. And a lot of that's not just looking, so they did this, they did that. It also broken down into numbers. So a lot of it was you look at, say something happened a certain number of times, it was successful this many times, and then you look at the pros and cons of doing it. And then from there, I was actually given the opportunity to work with the main team. I got to do a little bit of traveling with the main squad. I went to Perth and Melbourne and Darwin. I got to be there live on a game day for me, which was a massive thing. As growing up, I always wanted to play football. I thought I just want to play footy. Getting the opportunity to be part of that environment was something I would just never imagined. And leaving school thinking I'd be a physiotherapist and just thinking some stuff like that, it was just like a dream come true. So looking into the STEM sort of subjects and stuff like that and how I use them in my job role, basically with science, you create a hypothesis. So you're working on how to increase strength in a player or how we can do something to create an advantage for the team. And then use technology. So on a game day, I would have all different screens from around the stadium, looking at different feeds of the game, using different software to be able to analyze and see how we're going and what we can do better. I spent a lot of time working on computers and software, looking at statistics, using maths to create percentages, and then seeing using them and just showing them to the players and the teams and the coaches. And then maths, being able to quickly work out strategies either during the week or on game days. Every aspect of football can be broken down, whether it's kicks inside forward 50s, marks, tackles, handballs, possessions, anything like that. It all can be broken down. And basically through my degree and what I've got into, I've had placement opportunities in all different fields. I've worked with the Adelaide 36ers as a basketball team in the South Australia, Adelaide Biotech, the baseball team, elite sports men and women, whether they be in running, cycling, anything like that. And it's just been crazy finishing year 12, not getting the score I wanted, being really disappointed and thinking, oh, what am I going to do now? I don't really have anything. I thought at the time I had nothing going for me, but it was amazing to see how far I got in the degree that I was in, and using STEM subjects and seeing how diverse they are in a way and how differently they can be applied in heaps of different roles.
Awesome. Actually, and again, remember down the bottom, hit the questions to ask people for sure. So I'm a curious person. So Nate, I always wonder, so you mentioned your degree a couple of times and you're clearly working in some really interesting areas. How much do you see that your degree matches what you actually do?
Good question. It's a very not obscure route, but it was a different route that I took to everyone else. So my degree is more of a broader degree that can take you into any sort of other field. But with me and the placement opportunities I was able to receive, it drove me down the field of going to the analytics and looking at stuff like that. So basically, if you're in year 10, year 11, year 12, and if you get into a degree, that degree can take you anywhere. It's just like the other guys, they started degrees or changed degrees and stuff like that. You can pretty much go anywhere with the degree that you have. I know with mine, it got me into the area of sport, and that's an area that I loved, but I also knew that there was a maths and engineering and science behind it all that would allow me to develop and stuff like that.
All right. Now, just because of it, whilst we wait for a question or two, I was just sort of wondering, those players, they definitely run around a lot. You'd know some of these rough average facts for how long they run around and whatnot. What's some unusual facts that people may not realize as they listen to this broadcast here about they didn't realize that, an Australian rules football person does this amount of whatever over a certain amount of time? I'm just curious about the sort of things that you might have seen that people may not realize that actually happens.
Yeah, well, especially with the GPS guys, they look at all the numbers and that sort of stuff. They basically break your running speeds down into certain brackets, and the max running speed is 15 k's and above, and some people can break that speed between 30, 40, 50 times in a game, which is, if you think about it, like at that high speed, doing that over and over, and the amount of energy and stuff that have to produce for that, it's really they're really elite level runners. In looking at the analytics side of it all, we can pretty much break down anything. Like I said before, we looked at a simple ruck contest. We looked at the angle at which a ruckman ran into the contest, which knee contact, whether it was left v left, right v right. and all of that played a part in how well we played and what the outcome was for that situation.
It's awesome, and I've always wondered about that. I know that there are even teams that you can pick people based on their stats in a lot of ways.
Yeah, that's it.
Thank you very much, Jackie. Your hand up.
Yes, I have a question, actually. Following on from what Ben also has just mentioned, like if we have some sort of program, software, or algorithm where we can just chuck in all of the numbers and stats, then would we need people to make decisions still about our footy players? Or can we just let the software do it?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. Like, you can have all the numbers and stuff there, but it's then about interpreting it and then giving the results and the answer that you need. And sometimes it's that human that needs to be able to do that. So yeah, the players can be running out on the field and doing their job out there, but then it's up to us to make some sort of like strategic decisions for the players. So they can't come off and look at their stats and say, we need to improve in this area or that area. It's up to the coaches and the staff to be able to be switched on and focused enough to be able to make that decision for them, and then they just go out there and perform for it.
Totally.
Cool. So that means like your job and those coaches' jobs won't be replaced by algorithms and software anytime soon, right?
I mean, hopefully not. I'd love to stay in this career for a while, but it is a growing industry. A lot more about cameras and stuff happening around the venues, and there's so much more analytics going into it all. It's hopefully going to grow and create more job options in the future.
Absolutely, definitely so. Look, thank you very much, Nathan, for popping in to have a bit of a chat there. And one thing I got to say about numbers in sport, the context matters massively as to why those numbers were high performance or low performance. What was happening on the day matters just as much as the numbers, for sure. We have another person here who has a very much a different path to Nathan, but tell you what, it's very much a very interesting role. Bec Fisher, are you there? Share us what you get up to.
Hey, I'm a qualified electrician, so my path I think is pretty different from everyone else's. I struggled in school, I have a learning disability, and I just didn't really want to be at school. But I found like backstage work, sound and lighting, and got really involved in that stuff through high school, and found out that you can be an electrician and keep doing it in the real world. So that's what I did. I went out and got an apprenticeship. And yeah, and I now do construction. I've built schools, hospitals, yeah, just everything.
What's awesome about it is I can see, what's the NAWIC tradesperson of the year? Because I mean, that's clearly an award that's very much in your industry. What's that all about?
That's NAWIC stands for National Associations of Women in Construction. So it's sponsored by some pretty big names in constructions, and you've got to be like nominated, and then you got to write essays and all sorts of stuff. And then it goes to a judge and you get interviewed, and yeah, and they apparently liked my story and thought I was great.
One of the things that you were discussing prior to this chat, we're having a chat about just how maths applies in your world as an electrician. I believe it's somewhat important so people get to use their appliances and things very safely.
Well, yeah, you've got that. Like if you underestimate your cable, you can, start fires and stuff in the house. But on like big, like construction sites and other areas, like if you draw too much current for the actual circuit breaker, you can actually blow up the switchboard.
So there'll be some people here might wondering what does a switchboard actually do, and why would that matter? I suppose I believe it sounds pretty bad and catastrophic.
Yeah, switchboard just takes the incoming power from the street that Energex supplies and then supplies the building from that. Is the basics of it, but you can do a lot in a switchboard from like your home automation systems and stuff. Yeah, but like so yeah, you got to do like cable calculations and all that. So maths is an incredibly important thing. Yeah, like because I do construction, like we've got to build cable trays and stuff. So you got to know where you're going, and you can't always start from start to finish. You got to start in the middle. So you've got to do all your maths and algebra calculations basically to work out where you're going. So
I just sort of wonder, I mean, did you actually expect mathematics as being as integral as part of for messing with it? Well, no, you're not messing with it. You're actually very much not messing with electrical energy sources. I mean, so did you expect as much mathematics as what you have to do?
I kind of guessed that there would be a little bit because, like, in high school they teach you Ohm's law, so that's probably the easiest bit in electrical maths. So, yeah.
It's awesome to see, and I'm kind of wondering, where do you imagine your world going towards in 5, 10, 15 years? Always a bit of a hard question, let's be honest, but I always kind of wonder, knowing that you're tradesperson of the year with the work that you do, where do you can imagine you applying this in 10 years, 15 years, 20 years down the track? Where do you reckon?
I'd actually like to get into electrical engineering at some stage. That is kind of like the 5-year plan, but we'll see where it ends up.
Oh, fantastic. And that's actually the thing I might even throw. Actually, like, Jackie's got a question. You go ahead.
Yeah.
Well,
Bec, so it's really good to hear that you actually are planning more stuff. We've heard from people on this panel talking about multiple career changes in that. So you're saying you're, got other stuff planned as well. At the beginning, we saw that you are part of Females in Trades. Can you tell us something about that? Because I've not heard of that before.
Females in Trade is just like just basically, and like anyone that's female that works in a male dominant industry, we just kind of get together and support each other. So there's females that like carpenters, painters, plumbers. We've got IT people. We just get together and we support each other. Find other females and just make sure that they're coping all right. We network so we can find. I was made redundant because my company went bankrupt a couple of years back, and I told one person, they told someone else, and in a week I had another job. And it just someone knows someone. And that's all thanks to FIT.
So networking is pretty important, eh?
Yes, the network is incredibly important.
Absolutely so. And actually, if we could speak to that, one of the things that helps put this together is the networks of the shared people on this panel. And having said that, I do know it is coming towards the end of this session. Of course, if you want to ask more questions, we can hang around for certainly a bit longer. But if you do need to run, because I know some schools need to finish their periods up, thank you very much for coming along to this inspiring STEM opportunity. Where can STEM take you? This is very much a careers chat. If you want to find out more about more careers like this, same time, same place, next Thursday. This is happening as well. Put on in partnership with Fizzics Education and Inspiring the Future Australia, and proudly supported by Amazon Web Services. But I might just throw out, and almost in some ways in a conference a little bit awkward because you're not throwing it to one person, but it's the entire panel here. Just want to wonder if anyone would love to speak to where they think their world, their field of study might go in the next 5 or 10 years. I imagine there's it could be quite interesting. Shoot first. Actually, I will. I might just I'll do it this way. Ra, where do you imagine you'll end up going?
Me personally, or AWS data center technician?
Yes, well, data center. I mean, obviously, the amount of information technology going on. I mean, AWS. Do you guys have a lot going on through your data centers right now?
Yes.
What's happening next?
Well, for me personally, I think I'm going to move into a front end development role, because, as I said before, my certification was in design. I sit right between design and technology, so I really love the way things look, but I also and fit together in a visual way. But I also like technology. So if I can combine the two, which I can with like creating the front end of websites, that's what I'll do. So I think I'm going to head that way. As far as the industry, it's only getting bigger. It's getting bigger and bigger all the time, in Sydney especially. And, you know, everything's going through the internet these days. Everything's going online. Everything's going up to the cloud. So it's pretty exciting. And I mean, I don't know where it will go, but it's infinite.
Absolutely. So thank you so much. Hazel, seeing that you are with the same group, where could you imagine this all going?
As Ra said, of course, from a AWS perspective, we don't know, but it is growing, and it's growing at a rapid rate, which is fantastic. That also means that we're always looking for people with the right skill sets. So maybe in a few years' time, if people have the right skill sets and have done studies and degrees, and that they could start like Ra did within or they could start on an internship or something like that. We're always offering them. So.
Fantastic. And people always think to the future all the time. They are researchers. We have a researcher with us, Alex. You have to live in the future a lot and try and create some things. Alex, where could you imagine you going with what you're doing?
Me specifically, like many people, I'm not exactly sure, but I do see that our industry is getting bigger and bigger and bigger. Certainly, you know, because I'm so focused on climate change, so, you know, both the climate change research, but also the applications to help make things more climate friendly. Both ends of those things are getting more and more bigger. It was great sentence structure there as well. We kind of see that, you know, as we do more research in climate, there's more research that needs to be done, but there's also more people that need to take action and change the way that they run their businesses, the way that we, you know, from everything from the way that we build houses to the way that we farm our food and package our food and eat our food. All these things are, you know, changing, and there's more people that are needed to kind of work in these spaces as well.
That's it. So if you really want to impact the way our planet operates, if you're listening in, maybe this is a good pathway to look at. Absolutely. Thank you so much. Hey, Nathan, where do you reckon your world's going to head in the 5-10 years or so, or 40 years down the track if you want to go down that far?
Well, for me personally, I'm hoping in the next few years to make it back into the AFL and hopefully become a full-time analyst for that. If not in any other high-level sport, I think this industry is only growing. It can only get more and more as technology grows and develops. There'll be more for us to analyze, more for us to look at, more views. I know in the NBA they've got 360 cameras now around the stadiums. So being able to use that live and then being able to look at that and seeing how we can use that to our benefit and hopefully grow the game, make the game more entertaining, more of a higher level, and then even helping at lower levels, trying to get improving people and stuff like that.
Awesome, absolutely. And I kind of wonder, I mean, what's going to happen as the world moves on for sure, especially, I mean, let's be honest, this AI is going to come in throughout, and actually it's working alongside it and guiding along its way is going to make a huge difference. And honestly, everyone has this opportunity. If anyone here who uses their parents' phones, or if you happen to be lucky enough to have your own, there's AI embedded in amongst a lot of this stuff. You're already using this tech, and you may well be finding it in your jobs in the future. You will be using it more and more. Hey, thank you so much again for everyone joining into this program. There are more coming up next week. So teachers or parents, please feel free to sign into the other ones, the practical ones on Tuesday and Wednesday. They're hands-on, and another careers chat on Thursday. So anyway, have a fantastic afternoon, everyone. Thanks again to our wonderful panelists for joining us, and I hope you have a fantastic afternoon. See you later, guys.